boxing fans. Welcome to the brand new boxing discussion show. We search out a lot of boxing, latest news, views, and gossip from the boxing world. We pull no punches. Press the button, subscribe.
Fight fans, welcome. And today I am joined by Matt from the Counterpunch. How are you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, mate. Thought I'd do a show today where we pick the best of the two cards of the weekend. Matchroom on DAZN, Boxer on Sky Sports. So we got Monaco, Monte Carlo versus Liverpool. And what we're going to do in this show is we're going to concentrate on the British fighters, the best fights that I believe in I can pick from the weekend. So we'll get some good previewing and some good predictions for all the viewers. And I think a good way to start with a very, very good fight that probably will go underrated, which is Stephen McKenna versus Lee Cutler, which is for the WBC International Silver Super Welterweight title. You've got Stephen McKenna, 15 fights, 15 wins, 14 KOs. Lee Cutler, 15 fights, 14 wins, 1 loss, 7 KOs with his wins. What's your take on this one? Do you think it's a good fight, Matt?
Yeah, I think it is. I think McKenna, obviously, you say his record speaks for itself. 15 fights, 14 KOs. Yeah. Taking it to deep waters a little bit last time against Joe Laws. Both of them went for it, and he got tagged and went down. But I think he reacted well to that. He got back up, and he obviously stopped him. He couldn't have this one as favourite, but I think it is a tough test for him. He can't afford to be too gung-ho in it. It'd be interesting to see what lessons he's learned from the last one, really.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I mean, when you think of the last fight with Joe Laws, I think it was 3 rounds it lasted. It was probably some of the best 3 rounds you'll see for a long, long time. It was a really good entertainment. I mean, how do you see this fight going? Do you see McKenna winning? Many chances for Lee Cutler in the fight?
I mean, I think Lee might have the odd chance, but I think McKenna's the better fighter. And I think ultimately, his record. They're both still developing in their careers, but I think his record, his opponents are slightly better, and I think McKenna probably will either break him down later on in the fight, or he'll take a points decision. So I'm certainly backing McKenna for this one.
Okay, but so you're edging more towards a KO or over a points win?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to look at his record and think, well, he's going to get a stoppage. But I think, the longer it goes in the fight, I think he will wear his opponents down. He's quite intense. He's a hard hitter for kind of that weight. And I think as it gets into the later rounds, I can see him perhaps getting the stoppage. Filling that, I think he'll win quite clearly on the cards.
Yeah, I think he will have learned a lot from his last fight where he got dragged into a fight that he's a big puncher, but he got dragged into a horrible fight there. He dropped Joe Laws, then got dropped himself. As you say, he's a big puncher. I think he'll win via stoppage. I think there is a few little vulnerabilities with him, which we did see, but I think he'll learn from them, and I'm expecting him to probably get this done in 6 to 8 rounds, something like that. But I think white lasts, it will be rather entertaining. It's a decent fight. I expect this one will probably be quite early on in the card. I mean, we don't know the running order yet, but it's a good fight for me. Well, we'll move on swiftly to the next one, which is on DAZN in Monte Carlo. It's Gary Cully versus Maxi Hughes for the WBA Continental Lightweight title. Gary Cully, 19 fights, 18 wins, 1 loss, 10 KOs. Maxi Hughes, 36 fights, 27 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws, 6 KOs in those wins. I mean, I'll have my say on this fight first. For me, this fight could be anything. I just think this fight could be utter chaos, or Gary Cully looking to keep sort of like what you'd call, with the amount of fights he's had, the veteran in Maxi Hughes, off with his jab and his boxing skills, move around the ring. How do you see this one?
I'd agree, Darren. I think, it's arguably Maxi's last throw at the dice, isn't it? He had those 2 defeats. We probably all think he beat Kambosos, but he didn't get a decision. He sort of overran by Zepeda, and I think, I was at the card in Sheffield last time out. It was a nice little sort of ease it back in fight for him, and he got the knockout in the final round. Gary Cully, since he had that defeat, has struggled a little bit. Obviously, the split decision after that against Reece Mould, who then got flattened within about 30 seconds against Ryan Walsh in his last fight. And then last time it was a unanimous decision, but there's a couple of close cards in there. He wasn't maybe as convincing as he was early on in his career. So I agree. I think he could go either way. I think Maxi Hughes has got the experience. He's got the nous. He can make it his kind of fight. Likewise, he could get dominated over the rounds, really. I think it's anyone's guess how this one goes.
Yeah, I completely. Same as exactly as I think. It could be utter chaos. Could be Gary Cully nicking a points win. I mean, if I'm going to ask you for a prediction now, what would you put your money on?
I'm going to back Maxi to get the win on this one. I'm probably ruling heart over head there, but I think he'll know that this is a chance to get another statement win, maybe put himself back in the frame for another bigger fight. And I think that experience, having been in there with bigger opponents, I think he could just frustrate Cully early on. And if he gets a few rounds ahead, then Cully might have to start taking a few risks, and that's where Maxi could kind of pick him off, just by being a workman, which is what he's been for all his career, and it's served him pretty well, really.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think Maxi Hughes could pull this one off. I think you're right. Since Gary Cully got badly stopped, I think he's looked a bit vulnerable against Reece Mould. Obviously, we knew what happened to Reece Mould after that with Ryan Walsh. Maxi Hughes is a wily old fox. He can be brilliant some fights, poor next. You don't know what you're going to get. But I mean, he's not a massive puncher, and I think Gary Cully probably is a little bit vulnerable on the whiskers from what we've seen. But I do think Maxi Hughes could put some damage on Gary Cully here. But I think it is like what I'd call a 50-50 fight. But I've just got a feeling that Maxi Hughes could pull this off. And I think he could actually stop Gary Cully late on. But yeah, I do fancy it could be an upset here for Maxi Hughes. But a very, very entertaining fight, I think this one is. And I think why it lasts, I think it will be very, very good to watch. And it's probably another fight that's gone a little bit under the radar, really. For being where it is the Monte Carlo card of a short card, 4 or 5 fights on the card. And then another thing to mention as well is the atmosphere in the Monte Carlo casino. You'll hear a pin drop in there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the women now, and we've got Lauren Price versus Bexy Matias. You got Lauren Price, 7 fights, 7 wins, 1 KO. Bexy Matias, 7 fights, 7 wins, 6 KOs. This is for the WBA, IBO, and Ring Magazine's welterweight title. How do you see this one going?
I mean, I'd be lying if I sat here and said I know a lot about their opponents. Yeah. But I think you look at that record and 7 wins, 6 stoppages. You don't generally see that very often on a female card.
Correct. Yeah.
So she's obviously got something about her. She can obviously punch. For all of the fights in Colombia, I think so far. So it's a change of scenery. I just think Lauren will probably be levels above on the night. I think she proved last time out against McCaskill how good she is. And I think if she gets in a groove early on, doesn't underestimate her, then I think she may stop her, but I think she's probably more likely to take a sort of clean decision. And I think obviously then that sets up some big fights in, either the next fight or the fight thereafter in terms of unification. So I think Lauren's experience, her amateur pedigree, I think this is probably a relatively comfortable night to work for her, but she's got to be mindful that this girl can obviously land a punch or two. So, not to underestimate her.
Yeah, well, Bexy Matias, I've actually tried to do my research on, and there isn't a lot to find as regards footage to see what she's like, but you are correct, the record, you don't see that a lot with the women where you have 6 KOs in 7 wins. Lauren Price, I agree, superb boxer. She does lack the power. That's pretty obvious on a record, but what she lacks in power, she gains with ring credentials. She's very, very good. The only thing as regards the entertainment factor for me sometimes is I think, like, obviously casual fans want to see the KOs and that. Lauren Price is what you call more of a boxing hardcore, where you can appreciate the in-ring skills than the casuals who want to go in and see the KOs. That's where Lauren Price differs, I think, with the boxing hardcore fans and the casuals. And I agree with you, Lauren Price, I think, will win. I think she just, like you say, she's just got to be mindful, because this is a girl that's got a big punching record. The only thing is, on the record, is it padded? Yeah. You know, that's the thing that, you know, has she been in with anyone that good, really? But the thing about it is, we don't know a lot about her, and sometimes you get in these fights when you don't know a lot about these fighters. They come over here and they knock our fighters out, and you like go, where's that come from? It does happen. So intriguing fight, and it's part of a script that will go on to the last fight after, where it's sort of leading to. But back to Monaco now. We're going away Saul again. We're going Chev Clark versus Leonardo Moscay. I'll let you try and pronounce that after me. And it's for the European Cruiserweight title, which is vacant. And you got Chev Clark, 10 fights, 10 wins, 7 KOs. I'm going to say Leonardo, 15 fights, 15 wins, 9 KOs. Again, this fight for me, we know what Chev Clark's about. He's very good. He's up and coming. He's a decent puncher. I feel like he's got a lot better with his technical ability in the ring. This guy, again, I saw little bits about him, saw the odd footage, but his KO record, again, is decent. I think he was number 18 in the world, which I'll double check in a minute. Okay. For me, I'm expecting Chev Clark to win. I think this could go points. I'm expecting Chev Clark to win, probably on a points victory. But again, you never know with these guys that you sort of like don't know too much about. How do you see it going?
At the same, Darren, I think Chev's had a good year. He's won the British title. Last time out, he fought over in America, obviously, and it looked wider in the cards perhaps than it actually was in the fight. There was a few rounds where, he wasn't dragged into deep waters, but he was given a test. Yeah, chance to get the EB European. I think this guy's fought in France most of his life. Yeah, they'll probably look for a local opponent to sort of come in, but that'll give him be another step up for him. So yeah, I mean, I think he can. Again, we probably don't know too much about the guy, but on paper, you would suggest that he's a decent opponent. That it's another development step for Chev, and I would expect him to get the victory. But again, I think I could see it going the distance.
Yeah, well, corrections, what I said before, he's actually ranked number 26 in the world, and Chev Clark is 17. Okay. But you are right about the fact there. Obviously, he's on home soil. Chev Clark isn't. So it is one of them that if it does go to points and it's close, we know what can happen with home advantage. This is the problem sometimes. But yeah, I completely agree. It's a lot of these fights that I've picked out here with certain opponents, you don't know a lot about them. It's one of them where you can just go the way that you don't expect because of the unknown. This is the intriguing thing about some of these fights. But what we'll do now, we'll go on to Boxers Sky Sports main event, which is Natasha Jonas versus Ivana Habazin. Natasha Jonas, 18 fights, 15 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, 9 KOs. Habazin, 28 fights, 23 wins, 5 losses, 7 KOs. This is the unification fight. IBF and WBC welterweight titles on the line. How do you see this one going, Matt?
I think firstly, I'm glad to see Natasha get a fight. It feels like a long, long time ago that her and Michaela Mayer were locking horns. It's a real shame that rematch didn't get made, because I think that was a relatively easy fight to make. And I don't think either fighter stood in the way of that being made. It was probably more promoters and other factors that played into that not happening. The inactivity is not great for a 40-year-old. Yeah. So being mindful of that, Habazin, won the WBC belt last time out, I think, on a points decision. It's a unification fight. Natasha's already looking at what might come next. And I think she did an interview where she said that, ideally she'll come through this, have a unification fight with Lauren Price, and then look for Katie Taylor or Michaela Mayer thereafter. So she's almost plotted her exit. And I think, but I don't think she's overlooking Habazin. I think she will be professional. She's proved that throughout her career. I expect her to get the victory. I expect her to go the distance, and probably for her to get a unanimous decision.
Yeah, we're agreeing on a lot. We're agreeing on a hell of a lot today, but this is boxing. I would agree with the method of victory as well. I think Natasha Jonas will win this on points. I think what you say about Habazine, she's got some good fighters on the record, Clarissa Shields, Terry Harper, but she has lost both of them on points. She's a good operator. She's solid, and I definitely think she will take some rounds in the fight. But I expect Natasha Jonas to win on points unanimously, and I think it will lead us to the script of what will be in the future: Natasha Jonas versus Lauren Price. Presuming they both come through like we think, when do you think we'll see that fight?
I mean, again, it should be an easy fight to make, shouldn't it? So we're in December now. You'd like to think April time that could be made, I would think. Realistic timescales. Yeah. Assuming they both come through without any cuts or anything. Where that happens, I guess it's a toss-up, isn't it? Do you do it in Liverpool? Do you do it in Wales? But you'd think they're the two venues that they choose and build a card around. And if the domestic promoters, all the promoters are going to be more active this year, you'd like to think they're putting on a decent show every month, or certainly every couple of months. So I think April's a realistic timescale for that one. Yeah,
absolutely, I agree. I personally think they will head to Natasha Jonas's home city again, Liverpool. I think she's obviously more of the name than Lauren Price. Lauren Price is still getting going, 7 fights in. This is her 8th. So I think they'd head towards Liverpool for that fight. But it's another good fight to look forward to in the future. Both these cards the weekend, it's a mixed bag, but I feel what we've covered here tonight, I feel is the pick of the cards. So Matt, I want to thank you for your brilliant analysis and expertise. Thanks for coming on the show, mate.
No, thanks for having me on.
And we'll get you on again in the future to preview and analyse more boxing. And look forward to the fights the weekend. And thanks again, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, definitely. Cheers, Darren.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Boxing fans, welcome to the brand new boxing discussion show. We search out a lot of boxing, latest news, views, and gossip from the boxing world. We pull no punches. Press the button, subscribe.